Objection!
Miss Elise was staying in the corner room which faces out into the courtyard. The room the victim was staying in overlooked the courtyard, correct? Which means the victim's room was on the second floor? No. Asakura Temple is a single-story building, but the mountain itself slopes downward, which elevates the main gate side of the temple and the guest room in the back to about the height of a two-story building. I see. And the victim was staying in one of these elevated rooms, correct? Yes. I should know. I'm the one who carried her things to her room, after all. The stabbing I saw must have occurred after she was pushed out her window.
Hold it!
What makes you so sure of this? It's just like I told you earlier. I heard a noise from the courtyard, okay? Thump, just like that. You're one smart sister, I'll give you that. The autopsy report states that the victim's body was covered in bruises, indicating a fall from around 10 feet in height. It appears that the witness was not mistaken then. Yep. I'm more than just a pretty face, especially in the winter. I'm a woman of faith, after all. The head honcho of Hazakura Temple. There's only 2 of them working there. What's wrong, Miles Edgeworth? No snappy comeback remarks? It doesn't feel like she's lying. This is very powerful testimony, too. She claims to have seen the instant in which the defendant stabbed the victim. There are only 2 things I can believe in right now. My client, Iris, and my own abilities as a defense attorney. Impressive logic, that's what I'd like to say anyway. Oh, please do. My brain is something else, especially in winter. However, I think you are overlooking one thing. Miss Von Karma, would you be so kind as to take another look at the autopsy report? The autopsy report? The victim did fall from a height of 10 feet. However, this fall was after she was killed. That's right. It says after death right here. The scene the witness claims to have seen is contradictory. If the defendant stabbed and killed the victim there in the courtyard, how did the victim then go on to take a 10-foot fall? Order. The victim was killed and then fell. If that is the case, then the victim must have been killed in her room. Don't you agree? That is the logical conclusion? Yes, that's right. The victim must have been stabbed by the defendant in her own room, and she was then thrown out her window down into the courtyard below. Were there any signs of a struggle in Miss Dunim's room? She was stabbed with a sword. That would leave bloodstains, wouldn't you agree? Well, Miss Von Karma, was there any blood? No traces of blood were found in the victim's room. Your whip has just caused traces of blood to be found on my glorious playoff beard. However, if there was no blood in the room, then you claim that... I'm sorry, there's no need for me to go over this, as I'm sure Your Honor is well aware of when a stab wound produces the most blood. When it produces the most blood? Very little blood is actually lost the moment of the blade's insertion. If you want to talk about when the most blood would be lost from a body, that would be when the blade is removed. Indeed, with the weapon still in place, it acts like a lid on the wound. That's true, with the weapon still in the body, there wouldn't be much bleeding. A perfectly reasonable line of thinking. We have come to a conclusion then. The victim was thrown out the window with the sword still in place. This removes all of the contradictions. Just like that, we believe it. Order. I must admit that this is the probable version of events. I'd expect no less from Franziska Von Karma. She locates and takes control of every vital point. It seems that we need a clearer testimony from the witness. Remove all suppositions in your part and tell us only the facts, please. Witness, please. Remain standing on the crate. Don't go selling me short now. The weight of the winter snow has bent me out of shape, especially my back and my mood. Sister, please give us your testimony. I will give you a vigorous massage once we are finished here. With the whip. Oh, boy. All right. When I looked across the scene, the sword was already in place. Thinking about it now, I didn't actually see her stab Mystic Elise. I've never seen so much blood before. That's when I fainted. You can't blame me, can you? And when I woke up, Mystic Ami was... Mystic was stabbing Mystic Elise through the back. Reality, she fell. It twisted. It stabbed. Yes, indeed. This all confirms Miss Von Karma's theory. Von Karma strive for nothing but perfection. Putting together such facts is nothing for me. You should know that, Miles Edgeworth. Perfection is an impossibility, Franziska Von Karma. And I'm here to teach you just that. At that time, was the victim bleeding? Well, I was very shocked to be seeing all this, of course. So I'm not entirely sure. But I don't think I saw any blood, not then. I'm sure that you didn't. The weapon was acting as a plug in the wound. In any case, let's be clear of one important point. Did you actually see the instant in which the victim was stabbed? Think carefully, this is very important. It's Iris we are talking about here. I'm thinking for all I'm worth. No, when I looked over, the sword was already in Mystic Elise's body. It might not be conclusive, but... This testimony supports her theory. The victim was stabbed in her room and then dropped into the courtyard. I think this proves it rather well, Miles Edgeworth. I've never seen so much blood. But you just said you didn't. So you're saying that you saw the victim's blood? That's right! Some of it had splattered onto Iris too. When the defendant was arrested, she was meditating in her room, and her blood-flecked clothing was neatly folded in the corner. What? Her clothes were blood-flecked on as well? That seems quite conclusive to me. What should I do? Press this point further? Going back to your previous statement. You said that you saw little bleeding when the victim was stabbed, but now you say you saw the victim's bleeding? Well, I say that. What I saw is what I saw. What did you see? Maybe I didn't see the poor woman get stabbed, but I saw the girl pull the sword out of her, then plain as day. Pulling the sword out? Well, it wasn't exactly pulling. It was more like it came out. Witness, you will add this testimony to your testimony. Oh, was that important? More important than you can imagine. Smoothly, you say? You're saying you saw the sword smoothly slide out? That's right! The whole thing happened right next to the gold statue of Mystic Ami. Mystic Elise was on the ground and Iris was stooped over her. The sword was buried up to the hilt. When Iris stood up, the sword in her hand just slid out of Mystic Elise's body. It slid out from that gaping wound. Ugh! It goes without saying that if the sword was removed, there would be bleeding. Nothing out of place here. Is that really the case? I can't help but feel that something about this testimony is very out of place, that something which couldn't possibly have happened appears to have happened. I've never seen so much blood before. Was the bleeding caused by the killer removing the sword? No mistaking, I remember it clear as day. Don't you think that it's a bit odd? What do you mean, Miles Edgeworth? Why would the killer pull out the sword? What? If all she wanted to do was place the weapon in the hand of the golden statue, then there was no reason to remove it from the body. All that would have accomplished is causing the victim to bleed unnecessarily. Your thoughts, Miss Von Karma? That's... Indeed. It is strange now that you mention it. I'm going to need to find answers to this mystery too. Anyway, the witness saw something terrible. So what did you do after that, witness? Now on to what the killer did next. You saw none of it, correct? Well, I was unconscious. How long were you out for? I don't know. 10, maybe 20 minutes? A young man with a very prickly-looking head woke me up. By stepping on me, actually. I'm not sure I like that method of resuscitation. Well, I wasn't asking for mouth-to-mouth or anything of the sort. But I would have welcomed a more gentle awakening right about then, let me tell you. I shall have words with the offender personally. What did you see upon awakening? By Mystic Ami, you are referring to the golden statue, correct? Just stabbing someone with a shichishito, a sacred treasure, is terrible enough. But to make a mistake, may hold the blade. Truly, a heinous, despicable crime. It is easy to despise something, anyone can do it. However, there is something that cannot be done so easily. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's doubly hard for you. Anyway, what is the problem? Exactly why would the killer set up this gruesome scene? Can anyone explain the reasoning behind that? No, I don't think I can. There isn't always a logical reason behind why someone acts. That's true, so true. In early spring, for example, I often find myself... There isn't always, the phrase might come in handy later. There are too many unnatural elements in this case. Why was it necessary to use the shooter? Why was the weapon ultimately placed back in the hand of the statue? I can expose the flaws. I don't feel like it can be smoothly drawn out.
Objection!
Sister Bikini, you are a reliable witness. At least, I'd like to think so, but there are too many contradictions here. What do you mean? You make it sound as though I'm a liar. But you're a handsome young man, so I'll forgive you. What contradictions are you talking about? In the scene the witness claims to have seen, the weapon was thrust up to the hilt into the victim. Furthermore, the killer withdrew the weapon smoothly from the body. However, both of these are complete impossibilities. It's really fucking heavy. And it's weirdly shaped. Something the judge said. Explain yourself. To start with, do you think it would be possible to stab someone to the hilt with this? No matter how I look at the defendant, she doesn't appear strong enough for that. Doesn't appear? What meaningless dribble. I, too, may appear to be weak and frail, but I can crush men under my heel and make them weep should I so choose. The objection stands. I wept a little back there, I must admit. That isn't the only issue here. If this sword was truly stabbed into the body up to the hilt, well, just look at the branches on it. It certainly wouldn't come out smoothly. We also have the problem of the amount of bleeding. It's true that when the blade is left in a body, it acts as a plug of sorts. However, when the weapon is shaped like this, it's an entirely different story. The wound would be too large for the blade to completely stop the bleeding. That's nothing more than conjecture. In reality, the victim was stabbed with a shichishito. Even a weapon of this nature may still sometimes slide out smoothly and may still sometimes stop blood loss. I'm not finished. There's still one more. Conclusive contradiction. You've still got more? This one is simple. If this sword really was thrust in all the way to the hilt, why is there only blood on the tip of it? If this witness is telling the truth, then there should be blood along the entire length of the sword. No! Order. Bravo, Miles Edgeworth. Raising this many contradictions from a single piece of evidence. All the other attorneys I know could maybe manage one, if that. But what does it all mean? Excuse me. You have proven contradictions regarding the murder weapon, but I should hope I never become popular on YouTube. There will be burping compilations like nobody's business, Walter. Having come this far, there can only be one answer. And that is, the weapon used to kill the victim was not the shichishito. What? A foolish idea born from a foolish mind of a foolhardy, foolish fool. Let's examine this again. What was it that made us think this sword was the murder weapon? Well, it's because Mystic Ami was holding it. Exactly. However, if you reflect on this, that is the only basis we have to assume such a thing. The impression left by the scene was just too strong. That is what influenced us. They influenced us to believe that the shichishito was the murder weapon. Order. So maybe the shichishito was not the murder weapon. Even if that's the case, it changes nothing, Miles Edgeworth. The sister here saw everything. She saw the defendant stab the victim with a sword-like object. That's true. Your response, Mr. Edgeworth. If that is so, I would like the prosecution to answer the obvious question it raises. The obvious question? Yes, namely, where did the real murder weapon disappear to? It goes without saying that the police searched the main hall and the surrounding area. Perhaps the prosecution can enlighten us as to if the sword-like object was found. That's... Answer the question, Miss Von Karma. No evidence of that kind was found. Another mystery to throw into the pile. A trial without a murder weapon is a tricky beast. Excuse me, could I say something? I just remembered something, actually. What is it, sister? I was just thinking. It's possible that just maybe what actually happened was it was just over there. What exactly are you going on about here? The murder weapon, I mean. Maybe... I think I might know where the sword was disposed of. You what? Well then. I think we need to hear testimony from you one more time, sister. Impossible. What else? What else could this old woman have seen?